Hello everyone, I'm Marcy. Welcome back to my channel. I am an artist who makes all kinds of things, but in today's video it'll be mostly watercolor paintings. As you probably got from the title, this is a compilation of all the things I did and made in the spring. Although some of this artwork, just like realistic Dutch weather, will feel a whole lot more like fall. You'll see. Let's get into it, and I hope you enjoy. I'm gonna show you these roughly in the order that they happened, so this will have been late March and the lead up to Easter. But I was finishing up this sketch that I did in the winter. I wanted to do a sticker of this character, but I have three kind of main styles that I like to draw in, and in this case I just couldn't really decide what would look best. So since it really wasn't all that big, I decided to just try all three. So that's what you can see me doing now. The first one was just pen with lines for texture and shading, and I normally reserve that for my tarot cards. But I don't know, I still felt like trying it now. And then the second one is a black and white one done with diluted ink, which I think is what I'm most known for among the people who know my artwork. But in recent years I've started doing watercolor on a lot of things, and as it turns out people seem to really like that, because while I was really unsure which of these characters I preferred, I made this into a little poll on Instagram and people almost unanimously voted for the color one. So now I know, and I had that sticker made. I hope they'll do well now that we've got the Halloween period coming up. Next we've got a little pet intermission. I had a nice quiet Sunday, so I decided to give them all a little bit of extra exercise. For the guinea pigs, that means I cover my entire hallway in blankets, and then I sit on the floor with them. It's the best. I did the same thing for my mice, except I covered our kitchen island for them instead, because honestly I'd be scared to put them on the floor. They really love to explore, so watching them makes me very happy. I spent a lot of the rest of that day finishing this puzzle. That's a rare treat because my back does not like me doing puzzles, but I like doing puzzles, so I still own a couple. And I think this one's definitely my prettiest. What do you think? I think that's gorgeous. It's supposed to glow in the dark, but it doesn't really. But then maybe I just didn't let it absorb enough sun. It could be me. I had a blast doing this. And here's the brand if you want to look for it. And now we're back to making more artwork. You're getting a quick glimpse here at the reason that I didn't make all that much. This was a mere 2 months before my book launch, so I was doing a lot to prepare for that. But I won't get into it too much here because that got its whole own video. Check it out if you're curious. What I'm making right here is a sort of symbolic piece about the start of spring. I've got this big skeleton nurturing a bunch of baby birds. Like how all the plants that die out in winter will nourish all the new ones in the spring. So that's what I was going for anyway. I also just really wanted to draw a skeleton covered in flowers again, because a client had me do something like that years ago for a tattoo, and I fell in love with that piece and I wanted to do something else like it. I went a little bit bigger with this piece than I normally would, because while making my book I did a couple of larger pieces, meant for the cover and stuff, and I realized I really like the effect when there's kind of a drastic difference between the different line thicknesses in the piece. So I did that here too, and I really like how that turned out. I also scanned her when I finished only the lines, because I felt that would make a great coloring page. And if you want to judge that for yourself, you can. I put it on my Patreon for free. I can't remember if you need an account for that because I have an account, so I don't really know how to check, but I do know it doesn't cost anything, so you can download that and color it if you like. And if you do, please show me it. I would love to see what other people do with it. After the lines, I went over it with my typical layer of ink first. I tend to dislike super vibrant colors, so doing this makes it look a little bit like an old photo, and I love that. Come to think of it, isn't that what they really used to do with old photos? They'd print them in black and white and then add color on top? I think they did. So yeah, I did that. And because I'm a pretty indecisive person, I also scanned it at this point just in case I'd end up feeling like it was prettier before I colored it. Wouldn't be the first time, although in this case it didn't happen. I ended up really liking the colors that I went with, and I think I was already sold when I added this yellow to the chicks. That is a delightful color. I will say, if I wanted to be realistically spring-like, maybe I should have left the mushrooms out, but I couldn't resist, and I do think they look pretty with the other stuff, especially now that it's all colored. And you know what? It surprises me that I didn't give anything the wrong color, because to be honest, while I was drawing it, I kept getting confused around the arms, like, am I looking at a little piece of bone or is that like a stalk or a leaf or something? I had to focus really hard not to mess anything up. But I guess because of, maybe it's the line thicknesses, I think it is. By the time I was at the coloring part, I didn't find it as confusing anymore, so that's lucky. This became one of my favorite things that I've ever made, so I did lots of stuff with it. I swear I'm not showing you all this stuff to like convince you to buy it, I just feel excited about it and I want to share. I put this as a print in my own shop, and I added it to my TeePublic on a shirt, a mug, a sticker, and on a bag, which, as you can see, I ordered for myself because I couldn't resist it. I love this bag, I carry it everywhere. And yeah, just a painting I was especially happy with. That's always a good feeling. Do you hear those splashes? That's the sound of our dog walking around in like an inch of water. It's crazy how fast that happens here. My city floods almost every year. But this wasn't too bad. I thought it was kind of cozy. But to get into the spring spirit, I did go and buy some plants. And you've no idea how exciting this was for me. This first plant is one that I had wanted for years. I bought one for my mother-in-law years ago, and then I wanted to go back and get one for myself, and then the store was out, and then they just weren't available anywhere for years after that. But I found one, and it was half price, so I used that as a bit of an excuse to buy a couple more baby plants. Now that it's 3 months later, I can tell you that all of these are thriving, so I think I chose the right stuff. And according to my footage, we have now reached Easter, for which Paul and I had brunch for like several days because this was way too much food. But almost nothing makes me happy like eating tiny portions of a bunch of different foods. So this was an exciting time for me, especially now that dairy-free cheeses are more of a thing. So that was really lovely, and we went for a little walk afterwards. And from this footage you can clearly see that it was not all that spring-like yet, though the temperature was lovely. We spotted some Canadian geese for the first time and finally understood why people don't like those. Why are these so grumpy, guys? They were so unfriendly. Just so you all know, geese around Europe are not like that. They're just big ducks and they're very nice. But yeah, that was a nice break. Guess what's next? It's another drawing, of course. I was really craving some sunlight at this point, so I drew a ghost that was enjoying some nicer weather than we were having. I did this sketch in marker, which is unusual for me, but it made me realize I should maybe buy some more professional paper that will take markers, because when I got to coloring proper artwork, I realized that I liked it less with watercolor because this one was really fun with a very saturated, intense color on it. But I didn't have any decent paper to do it on with markers, so watercolor it is. Now, don't get me wrong, I don't dislike the final version that I did, and I still ordered a sticker of it, and that's pretty too, and it's not so bad. But it did make me realize that I maybe want to use my markers a little more. Do you agree? I'd love to hear what your favorite version is here. Some very exciting mail got delivered while I was drawing that picture, and it was so hard to keep working, but I did. So then this felt kind of like a little reward. This is a huge pile of stuff from my friend Bree. We have traded a bunch of stuff several times now, and it's been so incredible. And as you can see, she has really spoiled me. We've got a whole bunch of mystical, witchy stuff that I love so much. And then also some that are on the cozier side. My absolute favorite thing here is this tiny dragon with a huge cup of coffee. How cute is that? A little bit later I got more mail. And this is gonna turn into a little bit of a mini review. The video does have chapters, by the way, if you're just here to see the artwork. But I got some pens from Tom's Studio. Most markers and fine liners are disposable and made of plastic, and I don't love that. And I got a fountain pen for most of the thinner lines, but they are, I think, the only company actually that also does a refillable pen with a brush nib, at least a fine brush nib. And so I was really excited to try that. And I also wanted a pen for my everyday writing. So yeah, here they both are. The packaging from this company is so gorgeous, and I think the pens look really nice too. They're customizable, and they were pretty easy to put together and fill. I tested the Ren first, and it's made of recycled plastic from other pens. I've got a really gorgeous ink in there from Pilot. It's such a pretty dark red. And this pen, as you can see, is a fine liner. I liked how portable and light this was, and I thought the nib was really nice as well. It still allowed for a little bit of variation in line thickness, and it put out just enough ink for me. So overall I was super happy with this pen, and I've been using it a lot since. Highly recommend. And if you don't need a waterproof ink, I did test the little bottle that they sent, and their own ink brand is quite pretty. But then we got to the other pen, and this was a little bit unfortunate. The ink came out really transparent, and I think this is because I did put a permanent ink in this. Because if you didn't know, all permanent inks are made of tiny particles, so they are always a tiny bit less smooth to put down. But their website had said that it was possible, so I did order it. And I did leave a review stating that it wasn't really working all that well. And a lady emailed me in response to that, and she told me to buy a different ink. And I did. And the result was exactly the same, and it was still transparent. So that was a little bit awkward. So for that pen, I have to say, if you are like me and you specifically bought it so that you could have a permanent pen with a flexible brush nib, then it might not be the best. Although it's also really only a problem when it's black. Because if it was colored ink, it would probably not be that noticeable that it wasn't quite opaque. So for my specific purposes, it didn't really work out. For most other people, it probably will. It's still a good pen. And I think I'm just gonna put a really pretty colored ink in here. And the hunt for a refillable felt brush nib will continue. It was May at this point, and that's when we finally started having really good weather. Everything was in bloom and it was great hiking weather. I love this time of year. My favorite part being, of course, that all the animals are out. I was very excited to get to pet these donkeys that we just happened to see on our way home one day. I always spend a lot of time outside this time of year because, I mean, look how pretty. And it's also exciting to see our garden come back to life. It's a pretty small plot, but we try to fill it with stuff that's either useful for us or for the pets or for the bees. I hope I can show you guys a little update during the summer because at the time of me recording this, we have so much cool stuff growing out there. These are exciting times, especially for my guinea pigs, because we can get lots of different fresh stuff at the store as well. I meal prep these massive rainbow salads for them, and then I add in a bunch of leaves from the stuff that we grow ourselves. Like right here, I've got strawberry leaves, raspberry leaves, dandelions, mint, and sage. And they're always so happy to see all that stuff, so I really love being able to do that for them. Let's watch them eat for a little bit and see which of these things were popular. This time I also made them a little dessert. This is a willow tunnel with hay in it and a bunch of treats hidden inside. It's just the same hay, but I swear they eat more of it when I do it like this. And I'll end the segment with a little shot of my bird eating just because she's cute and I didn't want to leave her out. I'll spare you the end of the process though, because she is a messy eater. This piece is the last and the biggest one that I'm making in this vlog, and we've already dropped the spring vibes, guys. I felt inspired by that little character I made earlier, and I really wanted to make a bigger scene for her to live in. And actually, probably I'll want to do more than one. I think this pair is pretty adorable, and I'm having fun thinking of all kinds of things I could have them do together. So I hope you like them too, because there will probably be more of these. I haven't named them yet though. Do you guys have any ideas for that? I'd love to hear them. But to get back to what I'm actually doing on the screen, this is a rare piece where I decided not to go in with any ink before adding paint, because I wanted to make this a fall setting and I wanted the beautiful yellow and orange leaves to be pretty vibrant. So yeah, just paint this time. I was really professional about it too. I mixed the color palette before starting. I tend to have this habit of kind of neatly planning everything, but then just jumping in with whatever colors I feel like at the time, and that's not really the best way to do that. So I'm trying to unlearn it. I especially really like the greens that I mixed for this. If we owned our house, I would absolutely paint our windowsills dark green like that. Come to think of it, maybe this whole piece is a little bit of wishful thinking for me, because I've gotta say I would love to have this coat as well. If you guys are artists, do you add a base layer of color to stuff and then add detail sort of layer by layer? Because as you can see, I don't. I get excited about adding texture and depth, and those are the interesting parts for me. So usually as soon as something's dry, I will go back in and start layering the shadows on top. And I honestly do think about it and wonder if it would be better to add the base colors first so I can, you know, judge the overall balance of a painting before adding the final touches to it. I would love to hear what your favorite part is when you create a piece. Is it the sketching, coming up with ideas, coloring, shading? What do you enjoy the most? Like I said, for me it always has been and probably always will be the details. And speaking of details, here's one of the few things that I was unsure about until it was time to do it, and it was the texture of the house itself. I was undecided on whether to make it bricks or just a solid wall. And that's exactly why I wonder if I should have waited until the last minute, because it would have probably been easier to see if I wanted it busier or not. But as you can see, I did go with bricks, and I don't regret it in this case, at least. That pattern's always so much fun to do as well. Kind of meditative. Oh, I guess I kind of lied when I said I didn't do an ink layer on this piece. This is ink. I wanted the steps to look like concrete, so my Indian ink had the perfect color for it. I was so curious how this would turn out as well, because usually when I draw stairs I make it a point to do it at an angle so that you can see the tops and the sides of the steps. But I did this straight from the front without thinking about it, and I got into trying to imply the depth with the shading. I think that wasn't ideal, but I do still like it. For the roof I mixed some purple into that same ink, and I ended up loving that color so much that I wanted to document it. So I pulled out my Hobonichi journal in the middle of it and just added a quick entry about it. I found that these are the kind of entries that make me smile the most later. Anything that really excites me at the time is pretty likely to still excite me when I see it years later. So I guess that's a fun tip for when you don't know what to put in your journal. Alright, now we're finally at the part where I add all the fun, bright colors to it. In this video, it looks like I just kept going and it went smoothly, but it did not. Even though I prepared this lovely palette before starting, I had such a hard time deciding how to distribute the colors around the painting. Like, I took a day to ask my Instagram audience how they felt about it. Which, if you're one of the people who gave their opinion on that, thank you so much. So yeah, I spent a long time thinking about it because I liked where it was at a lot and I didn't want to ruin it. But I ultimately landed on bright colors in the corners and then mostly different muted greens in the middle. And I did it that way because I didn't want all the orange to be on one side. But after all that stress and indecisiveness about this, at least I got to just add some nice shading to all the plants. Just like with clouds, I find this to be difficult to mess up. It's not like a face where it can be lopsided or a brick texture where you'll notice it right away when one of the blocks is off. A tree shape can't really be wrong, and I love that about it. I guess that's why a lot of people enjoy painting landscapes, huh? Hadn't really thought about that. Aside from that little while where I was unsure on what to do with the colors, this whole painting was so much fun to make. I had such a great time, and that's awesome because now I'll remember that feeling when I see the picture. What do you folks think? Do you like how this turned out? And would you like to see more of these characters? Remember to tell me any name suggestions you might have for them. And like I said, this was also the last thing I had to show you today. I hope this was fun, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!